There's a new requirement for Maine cities and towns to start collecting data on housing construction. It's one of several laws the legislature passed that are geared towards adding new units to combat the state's 80,000 unit deficit.
Chris Costa sat down with Speaker of the House Ryan Fecteau, who has focused his efforts as Speaker on housing legislation, and he explains why this data collection matters.
Cities and towns of 4,000 people or more to collect this data and send it to the state every year. The Greater Portland Council of Governments has already started their own version of this. They're using a combination of both U.S. Census data, these yellow squares here, and town data, these blue circles, to show how much progress cities and towns have made. But the House Speaker says there's room for improvement.
Census has flaws, so you can't rely on the census data. We need it from the source.
Speaker Fecteau says that data should include not just new building permits, but also demolition and occupancy permits.
That tells the full story. What started with the building permit, what finished with an occupancy permit. Those things matter.
The law requires the Department of Economic and Community Development to reimburse 90% of the costs to collect and report this data. State housing experts say this data collection would only take 5 hours a year. How critical will that data be for you, other lawmakers, as you try to shape housing policy in the next session of the legislature, to have that data?
Well, I think it's more important for the municipalities because we need some peer pressure. We need towns that are doing good work to build housing in their communities to look at the communities around them who are not pulling their fair share of the weight because they have left other towns around them with the burden of building the housing so that they can benefit from it.
Have those discussions.
Maine Housing's executive director agrees.
Building housing in your community is an enhancement to your community. Building housing at all income levels is an enhancement. Every healthy community should have housing at all income bands, not just upper end, not just lower end. It should be a mix throughout the entire community.
This issue needs to be solved by all of us. Every community has a role to play, and it can't just be Scarborough building hundreds of units in a single year and then the surrounding communities building 0, 10, 20. That's not sufficient.
That's Chris Costa reporting. Now, Speaker Fecteau says fair share also depends on the size of the town. He says the goal is to balance the housing needs while still preserving Maine's natural beauty. Developers testified in support of this, as did the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce. You can catch that full housing discussion with Speaker Fecteau on News Center Maine Plus.